Today is the 107th episode of my podcast, Words to Ponder. And when I plan to launch this in 2025, I organize the 66 books of the Bible and 52 topics to be the content for this podcast for this year. And you really can't identify a list of politicized topics that might be either loosely framed around Christian living or using Christian living as the scapegoat for them without the topic of abortion. Now, abortion is one of those topics that I don't normally engage in. It would be hypocritical to overlook that topic in such a plan as I have made for this year in looking at topics. My number one reason for avoiding the conversation of abortion is that I don't think there's anyone who has an opinion or idea or a conviction in regard to the topic of abortion who has any ability to change their view, change their opinion, or even to correct false facts that they have in their head. And that's my biggest problem with conversations around abortion. And that is that you kind of have two sides. I'm probably the rare person who agrees with small portions of what both sides have to say. But one side doesn't know how to express themselves in such a way where anyone would listen. And you have to know, how do you talk with someone who is not likely to change their opinion and everything they know and understand is grounded or founded in lies? How do you encounter people that don't have any true facts and there's nothing you can say to convince them that what they believe is not true? It's one of those situations where it's lose-lose. So I want to come at this conversation from a little different view today, and that is pointing out the lies that surround this political subject. I posit that this has nothing to do with Christianity, and it is only about politics, and the politics about tricking people to vote for you. That's all it's about. The language that is used are lies. One side calls himself the pro-life movement, but there is nothing pro-life about these people. They're pro-birth. They want every conceived child to be born, no matter what, no matter if the pregnant person is a 12 or 13-year-old girl who is raped. They expect that child to give birth. Now, when that child is 18 and has a 6-year-old and they're trying to raise them themselves and work and pay for childcare and pay for groceries and medicine for their child, those people that claim to be pro-life don't want to give one red cent for that single mother through no fault of her own. And even if it was a fault of her own, don't want to give her one red cent to help her with food, medicine, daycare, any type of financial support through the government. So that's where the argument pro-life ends. We're pro-life up until the child is born and goes home from the hospital. Then we're not pro-life. We don't care anything about that life or the mother who may have been raped or has a medical problem. And we don't care about brown people. So that's not pro-life if you don't care about brown people. We don't care about immigrants. Anyone who's so desperate that they cross our border just to get here for a better life, for more safety, we don't care about them. Their lives don't matter. So the number one problem I have with the fight over abortion, and it's not even a fight over abortion. It's a fight over freedom to choose what's right for your body and your life. There have been cases recently since the overturning of Roe v. Wade where a woman needed what is still classified an abortion, the medical treatment, when the baby has ceased to stop growing. The baby inside is dead, but the medical treatment to remove the dead fetus and clean up the inside so that the woman doesn't get some sort of infection and doesn't die can't be done because the woman and her doctors no longer have control over the medical decisions necessary for this woman. That's a problem, people. So we've discussed this whole term of pro-life and why the term pro-life doesn't work, because it's not pro-life, it's pro-birth. It's pro-birth. And I understand that the basis for that is that the belief is that all life begins at conception, when the egg is fertilized. There's immediately problems with that argument because birth control pills are very, very common and popular, even among Christian circles. And birth control pills do not prevent conception. They prevent the fertilized egg from attaching to the uterine walls where it can then grow and develop. So every once in a while you'll get someone that says, well, I'm pro-life, but there are these exceptions I'd like to talk about. It says, oh, so what you're really saying is the woman and her doctors need to evaluate what's going on and make the best choice for her and the potential baby. Well, that sounds like pro-choice. Pro-choice. It's not the government's job to make medical decisions for any person, especially people that don't have medical degrees. Now, part of the argument, and I hear this from people who actually vote for Democrats in most elections, but they will say right out of their mouths, because of the people they hang around with, well, I don't like this abortion because they kill babies at 9 months pregnant. That is the biggest lie that is told. And so they will go to the Google and they'll find this article, and then you can fact check that article and find that article is false. Babies are not aborted at 9 months pregnant. And even Roe v. Wade did not enshrine the right to an abortion at any time in pregnancy. For me, if I was making the decision, which I'm not, and neither should you, unless you are a female and you are meeting with your doctor. I have problems with an abortion after 20 weeks. Although there are cases where it's like you can, by that time, you can look and see and say, oh, this baby's brain is outside the skull. This child might make it to 9 months, but they will die immediately. Okay. There are times when the fetus actually dies in the womb. And it is important to remove that before the woman also dies because of sepsis or anything else. So there's lots of things to consider. So who makes that decision? A woman or a female in consultation with their doctor. Period. Case closed. Case closed. The problem we have with our government now is we have people in charge of different divisions that have no knowledge base or no right to speak for them. This joke, Robert Kennedy Jr., making decisions for medical stuff, and he has zero medical credibility. The crackpot lady wrestler that's now the Secretary of Education for our educational systems, who's not a teacher and doesn't know the difference between AI and A1 steak sauce. We have to have people that are experts in their field, or at least know what they're talking about, or have enough knowledge to engage in an authentic conversation. Okay, so I've stated the idea of abortion bothers me. It does. But what bothers me more than that is this group that calls themselves pro-life that cannot make their argument without lying. And they're pretending to be Christian. And they're claiming to be Christian. And they're lying. And I believe there really are some authentic, real Christian people that are repeating lies because they believe the lies. They're gobbling up the lies because so many people are saying them so many times. That's a problem. In addition to the pro-life group using the term pro-life to define themselves, which they are not pro-life, ask them about immigration, ask them about brown people, ask many of them in their beliefs about women. There are some of them who have actually said a woman should not be allowed to vote in a way that disagrees with their husband in a presidential election. Yeah, these nice, godly, good folks, huh? No. So in addition to this group falsely calling themselves pro-life when there's nothing pro-life about them, they're only interested in pro-birth. And then once the baby's born, if it's brown or an immigrant or born to someone who's going to need financial assistance, then we don't care about that life anymore. That's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem. The other thing is this group that calls themselves pro-life talk about their opposition as the pro-abortion group. And here's a problem I find, because I even see some people that are in the pro-choice movement, which is the correct title, the people in the pro-choice group talking about being pro-abortion. But if you have a conversation with these people, here's what you very quickly know and understand. No one is pro-abortion. Nobody wants a fetus to be aborted. Nobody is for abortion. What the people are for is a woman's right to make the choice in consultation with her doctor and psychologist and family members, although the family members don't make the woman's choice, even if the woman is 12 or 13 years old. Make that choice. It's about being pro-choice. It's not my job to make the choice for them there folk over there. And I'm a man. I have an opinion. I have some thoughts about abortion. I don't like the idea of abortion, but you know what? Most people, nearly all, maybe even all people that are on the side of pro-choice don't like the idea of abortion. The issue is not about the abortion. The issue is about who has the right to make the decisions for someone else. The argument that life begins at conception, even the people that state that, they don't support that. So technically, then I am 9 months older than I am. So if I was 9 months older than I am, if my life began at conception, if I am in fact 9 months older, then the government owes me slightly more Social Security, because technically I then retired at nine months later. I think I said 9 years while ago. I meant 9 months. So technically I'm 9 months older. So I am due a greater amount of Social Security, because technically I was 9 months older when I retired. Now, by definition, a fetus is a parasite. And the mother is the host body with which the parasite is surviving on. The parasite is living off of the host body, technically. The parasite cannot live without the host body. That's true. At what exact moment that a fetus or the parasite becomes viable, meaning that it can survive off of the host, is open for debate. I don't believe any premature baby has lived, if it was born before 24 weeks, something like that. And then there's all sorts of issues. But I personally do not support abortion after 20 weeks of pregnancy. But I also know in medical situations, I'm not the person to make that decision for someone else. And I'm certainly not going to allow people that cannot make their case for being pro-life without telling lies make those decisions for other people. And I certainly cannot allow people that claim to be pro-life, but they're anti-brown people, anti-black people, anti-immigrants, anti-Muslims, anti-poor people, anti-people that are on SNAP, food stamps, anti-people who need Medicaid because they're not working a job where they work more than 30 hours. You know, that's a thing. There are a lot of places do not hire any full-time employees because they don't want to legally have to pay full-time benefits. So there are some people that work 20 hours at this job and 30 hours at this job. So they're working 50 hours a week, but they're forced to work for two different places because neither one of those places will hire them full-time because they don't want to pay full-time benefits. So these people might need some medical care. If you believe having medical care and insurance is a luxury and not a need in life, you cannot call yourself pro-life because you don't care about the lives of people. You care about getting political capital and political advantage from the people that will get their panties all in a bunch if you lie and say, they're killing the babies. A woman 9 months pregnant came in and they killed the baby and called it an abortion. That did not happen. That did not happen. That did not happen. That did not happen. And the lies of these people that claim to be Christian, who claim to be pro-life, it's just not true. So there is no pro-life movement. There's a pro-birth movement. There is no pro-abortion movement. There is a pro-choice movement. So that's what I have to say about abortion. Now, I am soon going to be 63 years old. I am a single man. I'm a gay man. I won't be having sexual activity with a female. I won't be getting anyone pregnant. So I will not be a party to any conversation about abortion. I won't be in a waiting room with a woman and her doctors discussing options, even if there is danger to the woman's life or the fetus is not viable and the brain or the kidneys or the heart is already outside of the skeleton. I mean, I won't be part of those conversations. Also, I had a vasectomy in 1989. So the chance of me being personally involved in a discussion about abortion is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. But I do believe in speaking for those who can't speak for themselves. And we live in a world that still does not value the voice of women. We live in a world that does not value the voice of people that need help, poorer people, people that are living before the median amounts of sustainability. We call it the poverty line, but I don't like that term. So it's people that live below the median amount needed for survivability. Saying all that, I am not untouched by abortion. One of my sons was engaged to a woman to whom he did not marry, but she ended up pregnant. She was not quite finished with her college degree. Even though they were engaged, they were not ready for that part of their life. She wanted to abort the baby. This was early on, just several weeks pregnant. Her parents tried to argue her out of it, not having the abortion. My son did not want her to get an abortion, although he went with her when she decided to do that, because he did recognize this is her decision. The engagement did not survive after a few months after that, but I kind of think about my 5 grandkids and then think, well, there are really 5 more that I know about that did not make it to birth. So do I really have 10 grandkids? And then I think, well, if I'm going to engage that conversation, if any of my children use birth control pills, then I might have hundreds of grandchildren that I don't know, because the birth control pill does not prevent conception and fertilization. it prevents the fertilized egg from attaching to the uterine wall where it can grow. And then, even without birth control pills, there are probably many, many, many fertilized eggs during sexual activity that do not attach to the uterine wall. So technically, those would all be my grandchildren as well. So I think about the grandchild that never was, who would be 18 or 19 now. I think about my grandson that will be 17, whose mother and father, the father being one of my sons, never married, but my son raised. And I'm thinking about the lady that gave birth to him. Well, the girl, she was 17. My son was 18. They were 17 and 18. So I'm thinking about the 17-year-old girl who gave birth to him. I don't know if the conversation of abortion took place with them. I don't think it did, but I don't know that. But I am glad and thankful that that baby was not aborted, because that baby calls me grandpappy, and he's going to be 17, and I love him. I think about my youngest daughter-in-law, who had multiple miscarriages. I don't know if I know about all of them. I know there were 2 times that she was pregnant and did not carry the babies to term. I do know that she was pregnant with identical twin girls, and they did not make it to term. I do know it. That wasn't that long ago. I do know that because the babies had stopped growing, there was no more heartbeat inside. But because she had lost several other babies, the doctors wanted to carefully remove the unborn babies, fetuses, girls, the twins, because they wanted to try and investigate why did these babies not make it, and wondering if they could get some more information. And I remember being scared at that time, because technically the term for removing the unborn fetuses still falls under the umbrella of abortion, aborting, removing the fetuses, even though there was no heartbeat and the fetuses had ceased to live. And I remember worrying about that, because at that time there was a couple of ladies in Texas who were in similar situations, and the doctors in the hospitals would not allow that procedure to take place. They had to wait and hope that the body would start the contractions and stuff to expel the foreign matter from the body. And I remember being worried about, okay, they need to do this. Thank goodness there were not people picketing, or the picketers had not impacted her specific doctors, although she was at this point dealing with doctors who dealt with perceived difficult pregnancies. And I was worried, are they going to wait until she gets sepsis or something else? And what are they going to do? But because they wanted to do an autopsy on these unborn babies to see. So I know about those 4 babies. I don't know if there were more than those. They may have found out they were pregnant and then didn't tell anyone because they wanted to wait and make sure. So there may be more than 4. So I know I have 5 grandchildren that call me grandpappy. I know of 5 more, so I know of 10. Depending on how you define conception, when the egg is fertilized, anyone who was on birth control pills, there were lots of fertilized eggs. So we would like to say, well, it's not a gray issue. It's black or white. You're either killing a baby or you're not. Well, that's not necessarily true. We have to define baby, and we disagree on how to do that. I disagree with both sides on how to do that. We have to define life, and we have to be careful, because how pro-life group, which they're not pro-life, they're pro-birth, how the pro-birth claims to do that means that I am entitled to a substantial sum of Social Security back pay, because technically I am 9 months older than they claim I am, and I retired 9 months later than they think I did. So there's lots of things that goes with this, because this is not a spiritual issue. This is not a Christian issue. It's a political issue. And the ones who have made it the most political are the ones that are most claiming to be Christian. And the most troublesome part about that is they cannot make their arguments and their points without telling lies. Anyone who cannot use truth in their politics or in their opinions or in what they're fighting for as truth, if they can't tell the truth, then they're nothing but noise and a sounding gong, and they should get no time to share and speak, at least speaking to me. So this is my talk on abortion, and my talk is not really about abortion. It's about terminology. The anti-abortion group uses a name pro-life. The group they say is for abortion, which there is no group that's for abortion, is called pro-choice. 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 It's not black and white. And here's the most important thing to know and understand. The politics that claim Christianity and get elected by their pro-life points of view are not affected by this at all. If their wives or their mistresses or their daughters get pregnant, they have the financial means to get in an airplane and take their mistresses or their daughters or their sons' mistresses to other states, to other countries, and get abortions if they want one. Notice I said if they want one. I'm not talking about needs here. If they need one. And there are people that medically need abortion care. So that's where the hypocrisy really, really hits it. When someone who claims to be Christian and pro-life, but yet transport and go on vacations to other countries with their mistresses, so their mistresses can get an abortion. And that happens. And if you think that doesn't happen, then you're in a fantasy land, and you're probably someone who just gobbles up all the lies that this group that say they're pro-life pass out. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me for this difficult conversation, a conversation that I don't typically have, you probably will not sit down and have a conversation with me about this topic, because this is not a topic with which I engage. Although I have given very clearly my points, my rationale, and my reasoning. But I'm a single gay man that had a vasectomy 36 years ago. So abortion is not something that I will have to deal with. So thank you for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next ones.